That gate took like 7 minutes to fry.
Which is a good thing.
Somebody decides to break into Frost Bistro, come try to steal some money, steal the safe. Why not just do something in life to earn money and find something else to do? That's when they come out with the safe.
That's crazy. You know, it totally messes up your whole, your mental. You know what I'm saying?
After months of careful thought and evaluating the consequences for Kannon, Kirk made his decision. It was evident that the moment had arrived. The court documents were signed, and the petition for full custody of his son Kannon was officially submitted.
Sometimes I feel like we can't catch a break. You know, we're in the middle of filing for full custody. I've been in court with this situation. Then, we get broken into. It's always something on top of something. It totally puts me in a bad space with even moving forward buying more property. It makes me feel like we might need to rethink and pause on the next move. I feel all kinds of ways right now because it's like, damn. This being in the public eye sometimes, we just get targeted. Like, people just think, let's just go break in their house. They broke in Spice's house, they broke in Sierra's house, they came to my house twice. But at the end of the day, I'm just glad to be able to stay in business and provide great food and a great business for people to come to.
And what's crazy is this is something I normally would connect with Yandy with, since she's had incidents with her restaurants too, but it's like some shit in the water or something because everybody's arguing, even Yandy. She came at me and Spice about some mess about Mendices and trying to act like I ain't have her back again. Crazy.
Damn,
Yandy. I mean, I ain't got no problem with nobody for real, but my thing is you got to be mindful of that.
At least y'all used to be like, it was like clicks. Now it seemed like
everybody just doing whatever, all over the place.
That crew is, I don't know what the happened.
After kind of replaying this whole situation, I felt like if somebody is your friend, you don't come in on the accused. Whatever Yandy and Mendices got going on in their household that's trickling all outside, that has nothing to do with me or my husband. End of story. Sometimes, friendships change and...
Bro, what's going on here? Now, just take me off your radar. Don't come here with... We got enough going on. I see Jasmine is recruiting. She's hanging around your girlfriend. We need to really, truly rethink.
Everybody. A bitch too old to be having to maintain and maintenance people. I want to protect my peace, and I want positive around me.
Kirk knew that fighting for full custody of his son was the only way to guarantee Kannon's safety and future, but he was fully aware that the consequences wouldn't be easy. For months, he had tried to make things work with Jasmine, despite the tension and instability in their co-parenting arrangement. However, the cracks in their relationship had only deepened. Jasmine's unpredictable behavior, her erratic mood swings, and the way she used Kannon to manipulate him had crossed a line. Kirk could no longer allow his son to grow up in an environment filled with constant emotional turmoil and insecurity. He had to fight for his son, even if it meant confronting Jasmine in ways he never imagined. The morning after the custody filing, as Kirk prepared for his day, a heavy sense of tension lingered in the air. The phone calls from his lawyer and friends offered only vague reassurances, telling him not to worry and that Jasmine would eventually understand. But deep down, Kirk knew better. Jasmine had never understood, and he didn't expect her to now. Hours passed, and though he tried to focus on work, his thoughts were consumed with worries about Kannon. It had been days since he'd seen his son, with Jasmine keeping him away as a way to control the situation. But Kirk wasn't going to give in anymore. It was just after dusk when the first knock on the door came. At first, he hesitated. He didn't want to face her anger, but he knew it was inevitable. With a deep breath, he walked to the door and peeked through the peephole. There she was, Jasmine, her face flushed and her eyes wide with fury. There was no mistaking the rage in her expression. Before Kirk could speak, Jasmine threw the door open with a violent force. She stormed inside, fists clenched, her voice a low, guttural growl. "You think you can just take him from me? You think you have the right to rip Kannon out of my arms?" she shouted, her words slicing through the air like a knife. Kirk took a step back, his chest tightening. This wasn't just a custody dispute anymore. It had escalated into something far more intense. He had anticipated a confrontation, but nothing had prepared him for the sight of Jasmine, so broken, so desperate, yet still seething with anger. She seemed like a woman on the brink, someone who felt she had lost everything. But Kirk couldn't back down. He had to stay strong for his son. "Jasmine, this isn't helping anything. You're only making things worse," he said, his voice calm but resolute. Her eyes narrowed in disbelief. "You think I'm the one making things worse? You're the one. Stealing him from me! You're taking my son and I will never let you do that!" she shouted, her voice trembling with fury.
And Kirk now trying to get full custody of Kannon. Things have been going crazy for me. I really need support from my mom right now, so I asked her to tag along with me so that I can fill her in on what's going on with me and Kirk. Mommy! Hey, Kannon. I also asked Rod to meet with me as well. As a lot of you might remember, Rod was my longtime partner and the man that helped me raise Kannon.
Jasmine and I have been together off and on for about 5 years now.
Kirk is the father of Kannon. He's denying everything.
I don't know what you expected from him but that.
Kirk is doing all this because he's shaking in his boots right now. He's trying to discredit me. He's trying to make me out to be a hoe.
You brought him into our life, you got to deal with the situation.
I'm going to deal with Kirk how I see fit. Already filed the paperwork, and he will be served. Rod views Kannon as his flesh and blood. Rod's picking him up to watch him when I have to work. Like, he's been there a whole lot. So let's get to it. You know, me and Kirk have been in this child support court situation for over a year now. Right. The first time I went through it, I kind of let it go because I let him convince me to. Yeah. And this time around, I'm not budging. He gives me $1,000 a month. What? That's crazy.
$1,000 a month. I don't understand it. Like, how?
And he's still battling me, saying, what 8-year-old needs $1,000? I thought we finally settled on the money amount a few months back at the Cyphers of the A concert.
So the amount of money that I sent you, that's the number you're cool with, right?
Yes.
So we can end this lawyer.
Period. But typical Kirk backed out on our agreement of the amount that he was supposed to give me. So I had to take Kirk to court to get a reasonable amount of child support because $1,000 a month just isn't doing it. We had our preliminary trial, and Kirk is now trying to countersue for full custody.
Full custody?
Stop it.
I can count on my hand in the last year how many times he's seen Kannon.
I don't know where the delusion lies because he really thinks that he goes above and beyond. You just started getting Kannon that one weekend a month.
Kannon's with me 10 times more than he's ever.
Right. Exactly.
This delusion is just going above and beyond. Kannon calls that man Yaya. He don't even call him dad.
Daddy.
He calls me dad because he wants so bad to identify with a father figure.
Yeah.
And it's not making sense to him because I don't even see you, man. So, like, custody is nuts.
The fact that Kirk is going for full custody is up to me. Kannon doesn't even know how he fits into your family, into your life as it is. In my heart, I feel like it's just another tactic that he's pulling.
Most definitely.
To get away from paying me whatever he's supposed to pay me, or maybe he's trying to scare me into settling. But that man does not want full custody because he was offered 2 weekends a month and didn't even want that.
He's mad because you called him out.
Kirk is doing this because he's mad and he doesn't want to pay child support. But now he's not the only one that's mad. Now I'm mad. What he's doing by countersuing me for full custody is up. If he thought I was calling him names before, oh, you just wait, baby. I just feel like I'm at my wit's end.
There better be some kind of civilized solution.
I tried. I done chased Rasheeda around at one point. Now I'm not chasing Rasheeda around. Now her friends want me to chase her around and did that. Backfired. Rasheeda don't want to talk to me. Like, I'm done.
But I don't want you to give up on it. I know the court might be the final say so, but at the end of the day, y'all gonna have to work this out. I just want for Kannon to have a good relationship with his father. I want for y'all to have a good relationship because at the end of the day, Kannon deserves that. At this point, they need an olive branch. They need something.
I'll never.
Wow.
Kirk attempted to reason with her, trying to explain the decision he had made and the steps he'd taken to secure a better future for Kannon. But Jasmine wasn't receptive. She wasn't ready to accept the truth or confront the reality of the situation. Her breathing became shallow, and suddenly, in a burst of frustration, she snapped. She grabbed a vase from the table and hurled it at the wall. The impact shattered the vase, sending shards of glass scattering across the room. Kirk flinched, but didn't move. He couldn't afford to be afraid now. This was not the time for that. Jasmine wasn't done. Her anger escalated, and the rage that had been simmering for months finally erupted. She began throwing anything within reach, upending furniture, smashing glass, creating chaos as if she could break apart the reality Kirk had so carefully built. "This is my house! This is my family!" she screamed, her voice rising with each word. "I won't let you take him from me." Kirk stepped forward, trying to intervene before the situation spiraled further out of control. He had no choice but to try and restrain her. His eyes were filled with sorrow, not anger, because he understood. This wasn't the Jasmine he had once loved. This was a shattered version of her, consumed by fear and pride, unable to see the larger picture. "Jasmine, stop, please," he pleaded. But the destruction continued. Jasmine had reached her limit, and in that moment, it seemed there was nothing Kirk could say to change her mind. She wasn't seeing the love or sacrifice he'd made for Kannon. All she could focus on was the sense of betrayal and the overwhelming loss of control she felt. Without warning, Jasmine turned and rushed toward the stairs. Kirk followed, his heart pounding, but by the time he reached the top, she had already thrown open a window. The sharp sound of glass shattering rang through the house, sending a cold chill down Kirk's spine. "Jasmine!" he called out, panic creeping into his voice as he rushed toward her. But she was already there, hand on the latch, her expression desperate. With one last frantic look, Jasmine hurled herself toward the open window, as though trying to escape the painful truth they both knew was unavoidable. She wasn't just running from the custody battle. She was running from the wreckage of their relationship.